And it is the opposite of what happens in our free republic. And I can open the phones up. And I remember that Army Times article. It was also one in Stars and Stripes, where they said, yeah, we're going to be out with the jaws of life at car wrecks and things for PR purposes, but we're also training to pull triggers here in the U.S. Pull triggers. Like at Waco or at Ruby Ridge. And if America is so stupid that it doesn't know, I know every Hollywood movie shows troops on the streets. I mean, I know it's fashionable to think of Jack Bauer, but he's not going to be torturing Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda's being shipped in, again, by NATO to take over countries. They're going to be tearing your teeth out. There's more news today about CIA black torture sites all over the world. Again, our government's been taken over. The military doesn't want to take part in this, but at the Super Bowl, the Kentucky Derby, at every event, they have military as the security. It's totally illegal. And I know I harp on this forever, but everything we talked about is now coming true. And it's being done because the globalists want to collapse this country. And they're going to sell it like, oh, they're fixing things during the financial collapse and riots and the welfare checks not arriving, or the welfare checks because of hyperinflation, you know, not buying enough. We're all going to be lectured about how it's a good thing. And, well, Alex, yeah, there are troops on the streets, and you ought to be lucky they're there keeping America safe. And, yeah, we are having to arrest some extremists because, after all, you know, after the terrorists hit us, we had to do it. And whatever it takes to get the country back on its feet, just take all the rights. I want my money back. You'll never get your money back. They are putting this in because they're getting ready to make you a pauper. They want to convert the country. It's official from the UN into a bankrupt nation. Here's part of the clip from the news where they're like, well, yeah, the tanks roll around all day in the city, but we can't tell you where they're parked for security reasons, because you can't trust the enemy, the American people. I remember at the G20, we went to talk to the Army. They had regular Army and National Guard. Rob Dew on tapes like, yeah, we'd like to talk to your commanding officer. Here's their name. We're with the media. We want to ask about why the military is involved domestically. The military says, yeah, we'll call you in an hour. The cops show up and say, you were trying to blow the military up. And I called up the captain on air. And I said, what is your problem? You came to them saying they were going to blow stuff up. Well, yeah, the military felt like they might have wanted to blow them up. And I was like, I said to him on air, I said, do you really want your kids growing up in a country like this? I mean, are you pinching yourself right now? Reporters pull up to troops, want to talk to the public information officer who's on the website in Pittsburgh, and you call their hotel and call their rental place and send police after them and tell them that, well, we're preparing to arrest you for terrorism. And he said, well, we just had to check. I mean, it's like mental illness. Like, oh, we just say you're a terrorist. You're disappearing now. And a lot of people go, well, we better shut up then and be intimidated. We better shut up. No. You don't get intimidated by this tyranny. You get back in its face and you explain it's wrong to everybody. We've got the moral high ground and we save this country. Everybody should be afraid of not getting involved, not standing up. We're going to come back. I'm going to get to this. Then I'm going to get to the GMO threat. Big news on that front. I'll get into all the other crazy news. I mean, look at this BBC article. And they're reporting it like it's a good thing. EU should undermine national sovereignty. Homogeneity, says UN migration chief. This is official. Get rid of national sovereignty. That's always been their plan. You understand? This is Alex Jones with 5 good reasons. Okay, we're going to have open phones in the second hour. Do you think it's a good idea to have the NSA illegally spying on everybody? Maybe it's a good idea to have forced inoculation as state governments are now pushing. Maybe it's a good idea to not allow food to be GMO labeled, as the federal government is stating right now. Maybe it's good to have Obama say that he's going to have the ATF outside of law through regulations ban most semi-automatic rifles and shotguns. They're pushing that. I mean, maybe we should turn our guns in. Maybe we should raise our taxes. Maybe, like the UN says, we should join world government and that any national sovereignty is a bad idea. I mean, that's the headline at the BBC right now. Maybe I've been wrong all these years because, you know, everything I said is coming true. We should just accept the foreign banks running us and destroying us and just appreciate them. Let's go ahead and go to this clip here. And again, the full clip's up at Infowars.com in the Don't Be Alarmed, Army trains MPs to drive tanks on U.S. streets. And there are hundreds of these big armored vehicles. They call them tanks. They're really big armored vehicles driving around. And they have dual use for overseas as well, but they're putting caches of them all over the country. That's admitted. It's called Brigade Homeland is the plan. But in the Army Times, for you. It's all for you. Head of the Army admits it, but it doesn't exist. No, we should all, one guy in the newscast says, I'm going to go out and salute them. Yes, it's a sign of freedom to have armored vehicles driving around like the Russians have occupied us. And again, you get all the training manuals that police and military have sent us that have become national news so many times, MIAC, Homeland Security. Remember all those? Headline, returning veterans, #1 threat, then libertarians, then conservatives. Maybe it's good to have the armed forces secretly training and now publicly training to take on the American people. Maybe we really are the bad guys. Here is part of the newscast where the American people, the military allowed them. By the way, we know where it is. It's a old dump that the military uses out there by a threat fusion center at this particular area where they've got this located in St. Louis, Missouri. But again, it's several hundred giant armored vehicles. But the enemy, let's be clear though, the press could be trusted as collaborator media with the globalist. But you do not let the enemy know. And, of course, you know who they are. It's look in the mirror. Here is that clip.
This is a group of military police in from Fort Meade, Maryland, and they are here to train members of the 354th MP Company here in St. Louis on how to drive these rigs, a military's driver's ed of sorts, if you will, on the highways and on city streets. They are not loaded, they are not armed in any way, but the Army says that does not mean they aren't dangerous.
That vehicle is over 32,000 pounds. If they see that vehicle, it is harmless, but they need to know to stay away from it. We don't mind you all looking at it, but please stay away. Every day while we're out riding around, we get hundreds of people taking pictures and filming us, and a lot of people even swerving in our lane.
In fact, they were on Interstate 44 today coming in from Fort Leonard Wood. They say they had one man trying to drive and take pictures at the same time. They had a kind of a last-minute unintended class in evasive maneuvers to avoid.
All right, let's stop right there. Now that's just a short clip. Let's go back to the beginning where they say the people cannot be trusted. You cannot let the people know. We're out here at the location, but we can't tell you because it's a security issue. Can't let you know where all the armored vehicles are. And by the way, these are new vehicles. The Pentagon has ordered thousands and thousands of new ones. You can see that in the Pentagon purchase orders and admit it's for Brigade Homeland. Thousands of giant armored vehicles. They're giving the old ones to local police departments, helicopters, drones, 30,000 armed drones, all of it. For you. Here it is. Here it is from the start.
Good evening. It's a military mission in North St. Louis. Heavily armored vehicles are rolling into town, and while they come in peace, there are all kinds of rumors about why they are here. News Channel 5's Casey Nolan is live somewhere in St. Charles County, where he got an up-close look at the military vehicles. Casey?
Yeah, Mike, in order to get that up-close look, we've agreed not to say exactly where in St. Charles County we are tonight and where these vehicles will be parked overnight. The Army doesn't want that information to be made public for security reasons, but we can tell you why they are here. Now, this may not be such a huge deal that these rigs are in town if not for the speculation that was coming via the internet today. St. Louis police first put out the word that people may see these armored security vehicles in their neighborhood, especially near the Army Reserve Armory in North St. Louis on Goodfellow.
Okay, let's stop right there.
That was about all the information they released.
Let's stop right there. Again, you can go to my website, Infowars.com, and I link to the Army Times, Stars and Stripes, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Secretary of the Army, all saying this is for the general public. But those are all scholarly reports to each other or to the military. They think you're so stupid, that's kind of compartmentalized to the military and not to the general public. I can open the phones up right now. In fact, I'm going to. And I'm just going to take military whistleblowers. And I've done this before. And then I can have them mail me documents and photos and publish them. And then I can have it break in the local news. We've already done this probably, no exaggeration, over 100 times the last 17 years. Because they're patriots in the military. I can open the phones right now and have military police, current active duty, call in and go, yeah, I'm allowed to tell you that we're trying to take on the American people. It's not a secret. The news just acts like they don't know. This is not a secret. Listen, I confirmed through 5 military officers after I got a few calls on air that when Rick Perry jokingly talked about seceding, the John Warner Defense Authorization Act of 2007 says for insurrection by the states or governors or legislatures. The feds call it insurrection if the states say no to something. And when Rick Perry joked about that, the Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, New Mexico, all the National Guards around us went on alert, and they got in their tanks and armored vehicles ready to put them on the backs of trains to come to Texas. You're like, oh, really? Oh, yeah, what you just heard is classified. You want me to go further? You remember when the state legislature unanimously in the House voted to enforce current law that you couldn't grope people's genitals at the airport? And we're going to instruct state police to arrest people. What did the federal government say? We are prepared with F-16s to run an armed blockade of any aircraft entering Texas. I mean, what do you think the feds did when the South said we're not going to pay these tariffs anymore? They sent ships into the harbors and the Civil War started. I mean, that's where we are right now. This is what's going on while you're watching American Idol and sports and, you know, golfing and acting cool and riding your Harley around. And I'm not knocking you wanting to play golf, wanting to ride a Harley. I wish I had time to do that. But I can't morally sit here and know this is going on. People are like, well, so what? Let us go to martial law. They only want to go to martial law because they're going to take the guns. They're going to make you take vaccines. These are bad, bad authoritarians. These are bad people. And we cannot let our military sit there and think it's okay to do all this. So, you know what? I'm going to do this. We're going to have whistleblowers, and I'm going to try to go right to your calls as we start the next hour. Then I'll get into the GMO huge news towards the end of the next hour, if we have time. Not, I'll cover it tomorrow. It is big news. I'm going to give you the number for the military or police that are training with the military. And again, this is all in the news. I have links to their admissions, but people don't seem to go look at that or listen. You will listen to the military. So let's hear from them. And again, military knows they can call in here as citizens. As long as it's not something classified, we still get that kind of stuff, not like we're asking for it. But the point is that not like I need to have it. I can already reverse engineer by watching it on the ground. They don't hide what they're doing because they think the public is totally in a coma. And on average, they are. Only if you're awake and know history is this stuff completely clear, like writing on the wall. So here is the toll-free number, 877-789-ALEX, 877-789-ALEX, 877-789-2539. It's no secret they're training everybody down to mechanics in riot control. There's no secret they've been getting caches of tanks and armored vehicles, not just the thousands they've ordered and gotten delivery of, but new ones. But also old ones being refurbished, helicopters, you name it, for us. Because there's a globalist takeover that's already happened at the highest levels. Now they want to get rid of what's left of America, overthrow states' rights, bring in total tyranny. And just by talking about this, we may hold it back and back it off. You understand that? The only way the New World Order usurpers that have got a beachhead in Washington can do this is if we're ignorant and not aware of it and don't decry it. So I'm walking point, defending the Republic and the spirit of 1776. Straight ahead, 877-789-ALEX. Second hour, your calls, masses of news, cyanide grass outside Austin, killing cattle, CBS News, GMO, and more. Straight ahead, we'll be back. Okay, the whistleblower calls are coming in, and by whistleblowers, this is no secret.